Purchase was a mud hole.
Something about the mud too. Mud was it was the stuff of legend.
It was so rugged.
The museum was used for classes. The administration building was the theater department and the dance division. There was an old garage that isn't here anymore that was visual arts.
We come from a time when this was not a place so much as a location.
What's the difference?
Getting cryptic.
A place had a roof. A location had mud and bricks.
Oh, okay.
A lot of mud and rocks and boards over the mud so we wouldn't sink.
That first year I went through 3 tires on my car because every time you drive through one of the roads or construction sites, you were bound to destroy the tires on your car.
Yeah. To begin with, the buildings weren't built. When we brought in the first freshman class, we had about 300 students at that time. The dormitory was not finished, so we had to have these people commute on buses. We had shuttle buses running between here and the State Maritime College under the Throgs Neck Bridge.
Which is a hell of a place to start, your college experience when you're a freshman. Your parents dropped you off and they go, "What? We're dropping you off in the Bronx?"
Purchase people were the trolls under the bridge. We lived down there. They came up here for classes.
We used to come up with these ceremonies late at night where we'd make sacrifices to the bridge god. We'd say, Hari Bridgma, and we would throw things at the bridge and hope that it would be kind to us, because we never knew what was going to be falling from that bridge.
And what was really interesting about being at Maritime was it was a cadet school with Maritime Academy cadets. And here we were in 1972, somewhat hippie-ish. And it was a little bit of culture shock between the two schools.
They'd march in formation around the quad, and the Purchase students would show up. We were talking about an incident where 3 gay dancers were standing in the quad doing pirouettes while the soldiers were marching around them in forming perfect squares. And it was only the beginning of a lot of wonderful Purchase memories and scenes.
I remember on the mall with the Henry Moore there was a giant tricycle that was bigger than the Henry Moore.
Pot was everywhere.
I remember there was that brief period here when Quaaludes were in.
Quaaludes were big.
Coincided with women wearing platform shoes.
Acid, a lot of acid.
There were a lot of broken ankles on campus because they would sort of fall off.
Peyote, LSD, a lot of drugs. Did a lot of drugs.
Well, the Rathskeller used to be a place where you could drink beer on campus, get a little wasted, and come on down to the graveyard here in the middle of the night and scare yourselves.
The students who first came were very independent.
It was completely different than anything that existed anywhere. And being the early 70s, it was considered very experimental and very avant-garde.
Those that came here had this idea in their mind, like people that come to New York from Kansas or whatever, had this idea of a magical place in their mind. And we had that idea. And when we got here, we had to make that happen because that was our dream.
When I was a chemistry senior, there were 4 faculty and there were 4 seniors.
For instance, as the only physics major in Purchase for 4 years, I had the classes to myself. I had 4 faculty members and 1 me.
Most of the faculty were young also. They were they were like 30 and we were 20. So we would go to their houses, they would have us over for dinner.
There was no graded system here, and it was pass-fail, and that kind of attracted a certain type of student that really wasn't interested in competition.
We were making it up as we were going along. And there's a lot of excitement around that, a lot of benefit around that. But there's also a downside to that, in the sense that maybe the choices that you make aren't necessarily the best ones. And so I think it's a trade-off.
I'd like to think that the Purchase is still a unique place, even though the buildings are all built and it's not like, mud and things like that. I'd like to think that the spirit of being pioneers is still there. I'd like the spirit of creativity, having a community of, scholars and artists.
You could have the same experience if you just tear this all down and then get the mud back, right?
The new Purchase doesn't seem to resonate with a political consciousness It seems that the students still leave on weekends and don't hang out to make their school into more of a personable place, which I wish they would.
We used to have a Friday night. You didn't have to go to a bar. You could go to the Campus Center South and drink beer with your friends. You didn't have to get drunk necessarily. I mean, so people didn't always leave. I'm told now this place, and it looks on this weekend to be pretty empty. How can there be a sense when everybody leaves all the time? And so I think that, I mean, look, there's no one to blame. It's an institutionalizing that I think happens when anything gets to be the size this now is.
You know, because I always thought it was a very, very special place. And so when I hear people talking about it like it was a normal place, I kind of do a double take because I go, oh, this is Purchase. This is never normal. Nothing's ever normal here. So that's what I think I would like to say people, you know, own this college, own it and make it your own. Use it and fight for what you believe in terms of what you want from your schooling. You don't have to do things just because somebody says you have to do things.
For those of you who are watching this, everybody who leaves Purchase does well. So have faith.